So I don't know if any of you guys have did any of the chakra stuff yet, or if any of you guys are doing chakra stuff. So I was like, what would be a great idea? I was like, let's do a chakra tour. So I figured, whoever's on board, we can just list our experiences. Because what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be listing how-tos with whatever I'm using for the specific chakras. Obviously, I'm going to start at the base chakra and work my way up, like actually doing work for the chakras, not just going through the chakras like I did before.
Right.
Because before I just ran through the chakras, and that was fun. It was creepy. It got a little strange, but that's also how I came to find my soul name throughout the process. So I was like, well, if people do this, they can get theirs easily. So I was like, it's not hard, but I found out, and this is where I had to ask myself, I was like, why are all these people talking about all these great and wonderful things, but they're not telling me like how to do it? Like, they're not telling me how would I find that out? And I had to find that out on my own. So that's what a great deal, like a lot of the spiritual work that I was doing, it was just finding stuff on my own. So like it took me in like solitude. So like one of the tarot cards out of the old tarot card deck is like the Hermit. So I was really like the Hermit. I was like, fuck people, like they'll be all right. We'll get back to this worldly population. So I figured if you guys were interested in doing the chakra tour, that'd be great. Because I'm like, more people on board, the better. So that way, it'll be more than one viewpoint from, of how you go about even doing your own ritual. Because it's not going to be like, obviously my ritual is going to be different from yours. So, that gives you the experience for your own creativity to expand as well. So like I found out doing a lot of rituals, the more I add to it, or when I create my own, it's more effective. So compared to if I just go into a book and I just did, let's say, an outdated or older ritual from, let's say, a book from like 1990, which I've done, I didn't really get anything out of that. But the rituals that I've done, that I've actually made up myself, I got fast answers, and I actually got quicker results just by doing it. So I'm definitely doing the chakra tour. That's going to start December 1st. I'm going to be starting the root chakra. So like that whole entire month, it's going to be the root chakra and everything associated with the root chakra for you people that are open.
That'd be awesome. I'm looking forward to it.
Cool. All right, so we're going to start off with our spiritual journey. That's what this is supposed to be about anyway. Because I figure it's a great idea to just, out of, because me and my aunt, we already did our video, so we already did ours. But share like your own so far your journey, like ask questions, or if you need feedback, do that. So like whoever wants to start first, feel free, go ahead, just share your experience so far, where you're at, like even the pros and cons. Like if you don't know where to start, just breathe and just say the first thing that comes to mind.
Well, I'll go ahead and start. Because I show your story a whole lot more. I'll get my more boring one out the way. I'm sorry. Oh, Oroyo, my bad. My bad. So anyway,
it's okay, Tasha, Oroyo, it's okay. Perfect. We're good.
They'll call you whatever.
So my spiritual journey started off with me, I guess, forcing myself into Christianity and like, I guess using that as my outlet. And then after a while, like I had a whole lot more questions than what could be answered. And every time I came up to someone and asked them, oh, what's the answer to this? Why is this? They would say like, go to the Bible. And I'm just like, well, I mean, if you're looking for a how-to for anything and you go to a specific source, of course, they're going to give you their answer. But that doesn't mean that that's the answer. That's just their answer for it. So I just wanted to get an understanding of life and what I'm supposed to be doing. So after I started, kind of backing away from Christianity, I took a class on religions, and it kind of just did a quick scope of a lot of things like Buddhism and what else did we study? Hinduism and all that. And that's when I really started doing meditation. And I found that that's what worked for me. I found that seeking the answers that that I was looking for was actually really like, so when I'm like, oh, what am I supposed to be doing? Like I'm questioning, like, am I where I'm supposed to be? How can I improve? It was like all within myself. And then I have Hakim here who had helped me a whole lot with my spiritual journey, with giving me books and kind of like giving me his understanding of things. And we've had many spiritual talks, and it's helped me and it's helped my journey. I found that when I was starting do this ritual where I would drink my tea and I would meditate and I would just kind of like get away from the world, get away from kids and family and everything, my life seemed to go so much more smoothly. I was making better decisions for my family and all that. And then when I moved out here, and I don't have all my stuff with me, I feel more anxious. I have the worst anxiety right now. I feel like I need to take something, and I'm at that point where I'm like realizing how important the rituals that I was doing is, and the things that I found helpful for me was like it's crucial. It's so important for mental health and all that. Like no pill has ever made me feel at peace with myself. Like when I was doing my rituals and all that. So it made me more aware and conscious about me and how important the things that I was doing was. So that's where I'm at right now. So I'm going through this turmoil, and it's just because I didn't want to be disrespectful to family because they're Christians and they believe in Jesus and all that, and I didn't want to bring something that just like, yo, like, why do you have your uncle in my house? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't want to impose that. But now I regret it. I regret not at least keeping it in my car, because I could have kept it in my car since that's my place. And I could have made some tea and went out to my car and did my meditations. But it's definitely needed.
Well, clearly, obviously, you're respecting the home. My initial thought for the intention of making the tea was where I was at. I remember being in massage school, and at the time, I was like, there's a couple of videos I saw online about decalcifying your pineal gland and what that actually does. So this was like me, like, well, how do I do that? You know, what happens when you do that? And then all these wonderful things started happening, but it didn't really pick up until after I initially made the tea. So obviously I was doing my own research and I had got my own book. And then, so I was like, well, how am I going to necessarily put this in the order of the ingredients that I need? Like I see it's like a whole lot of ingredients. There's a whole lot of herbs out there. So it's like, you don't really know which one to pick at first. And I was like, well, wait a minute. Let me customize it to what I feel as if, oh, that sounds like a good idea. I'm going to go off that. So when I started gathering these herbs through the book, I actually just start circling the ones that stood out. And then I went to the metaphysical shop. And then obviously when I walked in, like they have a section in the back. It's like hidden. Like they don't really tell customers, hey man, we got all these herbs in the back, you know, a full shelf. So before I knew it, they had like every herb that I wanted. So I was like, all right, cool. So I took my list, whatever. They're like, can we help you with anything? I was like, nah, this is more private. So, I got it. So once I got the combination, it took about probably 3 to 4 initial tries, because sometimes it was too bitter. A lot of it was very bitter. The first outcome. So I was like, I got to adjust that. So once I got it down, what I found myself doing was I noticed my meditation sessions started like to enhance. I started having more visions, because at this time I was already doing pineal work. So any meditation that's associated with the third eye, I was already doing it, but it just enhanced what I could already do. So as a side effects, not only did I start having more visions when I actually went to meditate, I was more relaxed. I actually found myself being able to focus throughout the day. But my dream life, that picked up an awful lot. Like it got to the point where I got stuck a few times and I was like, yo, how do I wake up? I'm in too deep. How do I wake up? My favorite one actually this week. So I didn't take the tea this week just because I was like, I want to take a break from it. It's helped me a lot because there's been times to where I took it and it felt like a snake was coming out my forehead. So that's a sign of progression. Obviously, you can reach that the more work you put in. It's not hard. It's just something you just get really comfortable. So like your own body will let you know spiritually what's going on. So if you want to know if your pineal is very active, you'll feel a vibration or a pulsating feeling in the between the center of your eyebrow. So that'll go up a lot during the day for me at certain times. I've noticed it in the past 2 months when I got angry. It really, I was like, I think I need to calm down. Let me not go too wild in my imagination wherever I'm at. So, so anyway, back to my point. So I was going to bed because because doing school and work and having my son, it was a lot. So I didn't really have a whole lot of time to meditate because I was just burnt out of energy. I was literally going to bed with a few hours of sleep, getting back up and going about my life. But funny thing, the past couple weeks have gotten very interesting. So I went to bed about 3 days ago and I was like, all right, Anubis, we're going to see what you're talking about tonight, baby. So one of my key meditations is when you're going to bed, you just envision yourself going downstairs. Envision yourself going downstairs. And you want to, whatever comes in your mind or whoever's coming in your mind to, to help make that real for you in that moment. Because that's a moment of meditation as you're going to sleep. You're taking your conscious mind, you're taking your awareness into the dream world so that way you can be aware. So like I hear people say, well, I have trouble, having dreams. I was like, no, your spirit's definitely leaving your body. You just didn't bring your conscious mind there to that place to actually see it. Because you have people say, well, people say at a higher level, well, I can control my dreams. Great. You spent more time utilizing that ability, whether it was dormant or not dormant. You have more experience, you're more competent in that spiritual aspect. But when I finally went to sleep, instead of plonking out and going to sleep through meditation, I remember I was I was at this barbecue with Anubis, and all he wanted to do was just smoke weed the whole time. I was like, hey man, y'all gonna do something else than just smoke weed? And he was just like, hey man, look, we ain't got nothing else to do but party. So when I came to, or I woke up, I was like, that's what I've been saying. These guys and goddesses, they ain't nothing but us. They are not nothing but us with the freedom. They are servants. They are your children. If you go back and read, what was the book? I gotta get the book name, but it talked about how these deities and these spirits came into play. Our ancestors knew how to utilize the energy. All they did was just give them characteristics, i.e., if you want to conjure up Sekhmet and become Sekhmet, all you got to do is visualize yourself as Sekhmet or having an interaction with Sekhmet, and next thing you know, you have her attributes. You're doing things Sekhmet do, or you already have Sekhmet energy and you're already doing Sekhmet stuff. You're already that dominator. You're already that protector. You're already that provider. You're that warrior. So it's a number of ways you can go about it. So anytime I talk to a spirit, it's always very simple, very easy. It's just like how I'm talking to you. I'll just be like, "What's up, player?" And then I just have a conversation with myself. When I've done that, I actually did that with Sekhmet. That's actually very interesting. I actually did that with Sekhmet. That was hard. That was hard because I was actually, my actual intention at the time was to actually have a vision or an actual spiritual encounter one-on-one, face-to-face. And the funny thing I learned was they are not how you depict them or how they're depicted. That statue I got a Sekhmet, nah, that is not how she showed up. As a matter of fact, I remember she, I wanted, it's different layers of the dreams that you have. This one was more personal. because it was about 3 months. The ritual was there's a photo of Sekhmet. Obviously, they had an incantation. I did an incantation. I invoked her, and then I would just focus on her image. And I would do that I did that for about 3 months. It wasn't 3 months straight, but in the 3-month period, I would do it at least every other day until I finally had that one-on-one experience. Now that kind of scared me, because I remember I immediately, my body just got so tired, and I was like, oh, I need to go to bed. Something's about to happen. So I remember I just went to bed, and then before I knew it, I see this tomb of lapis lazuli. Had the pharaoh on there, Sekhmet crossed with her arms, or at least the look-alike of Sekhmet that you would see on a statue. But then the woman that popped out, I was like, who are you? She was like, I'm Sekhmet. She was very dominant in nature, because there's a black cat, and then she just straight slapped the cat off the tomb. I was like, oh, you for real.
Oh, she was business. Oh, you real? Okay.
Yeah. So I came out. I was just like, yo, who's gonna believe this? Who's gonna believe? I was just like, who's gonna believe it? So we didn't really exchange any words, because that was the challenge. I was proving to myself that this is real, and I was like, oh, a lot of people are not gonna get it. They're looking for a lot of tangible things. When you start dealing with a lot of spiritual things, when you want to see and actually interact, and that's going to deal with going beyond your regular 5 senses. Me personally, is whenever I go to sleep and dream and my body just leaves, or we go whatever. I found myself into the story. I had when I was dealing with the plant kingdom, I was dealing with fairies, and there's a tree outside of my house. Obviously, I was just trying to get those negative ions. So those negative ions are what exists on the other side of the spiritual spectrum. So while I was interacting with those negative ions, I had built up this relationship over the course of a month. I had an inside plant as well. So I would feed it, give it water, talk to it, be nice to it. And before I knew it, I went to bed during that month, and then I saw this whole thing. I was like, damn, that is fucked up. Like,
right.
I was like, I don't know how to take that. So I was like, all right, I don't know why I saw this, but all right. So you just have experiences like that. So it's not more of, whenever I kept trying to control the outcome, I wasn't getting results. But whenever I just did the ritual and let whatever happened was supposed to happen based off my intention, that's when I start getting results, or I start having more spiritual encounters. So now when I may pour libations, I'm not pouring it with still an overall outcome. I have an intention, and I just want it to play out according to what my intention originally was. So I'm experiencing what I set out. So I'm already putting that in my aura, and that's giving me feedback via a person, via my dreams, via whatever, as long as I catch it. So I have a lot more stories, but I don't want to talk about me.
I'm loving that.
Tell us about.
Well, I mean, what you said is true, though, because if you really do want to take your spiritual journey, you have to be able to me, let go some of your fleshy thoughts and doubts and stuff. You have to be able to trust that, like, where your spiritual journey is taking you. If you have any apprehension, you're not ready for it.
That's very true. That's very true. One of the biggest things I've actually experienced through that was, when dealing with the spiritual work, it's going to mean 2 things if you're fearful. From my perspective, that is. 1, you're not ready, or 2, that's something you need to go through to get an answer.
Yeah.
To overcome. And that's what I found out. Like, I don't know if any of you guys ever meditated. Has any of you guys ever meditated and start seeing faces?
Start seeing what?
Faces.
No.
Okay. Well, I would start to see faces, and I'm just like, these would be like scary faces, but I was like, hold up, ain't nothing to fear, because I always hear the phrase, ain't nothing to fear but fear itself. So I was like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna push through it. So I just focused more on my breathing, and I just zoomed totally out. Next thing you know, I was somewhere else in the meditation, and that led me. I would get an answer or a vision in my meditation. That was always strange, but that's how that worked for me. I didn't know if you guys saw faces. I see a lot of stuff. I see a lot of stuff whenever I meditate. That's what's easy for me, especially when I dream. I always get a lot of correspondences. Like when I did a whole ritual with Michael Jackson. So on my altar at home, I was like, you know what? I don't want a picture of Mike. I was like, Mike already too big. Like, he too big. I was gonna put a picture of him on my altar. It was Michael glove. So I got an actual legit. I made my own Michael Jackson glove as a symbol on my altar. Michael Jackson.
Can I see it?
Yes, I sent that to you separately after the video. But I'll put that on my altar. So I have my gateway. Access mic, talk to Mike. I gave Mike a place in my home. Everybody need. I got a spot just to talk to Mike personally. I got a sacred area. So Mike was easy. Mike was easy to talk to. He wasn't hard. Oh my God. I remember telling you that he wouldn't shut up. Like you'll go to that frequency to where you just be going about your day and you'll hear a specific song by that specific person. Kind of like, where did this come from? For me, I was doing a ritual. So with Michael Jackson. And all his songs, it was certain, no, not all, it was like 3-4 songs that kept playing in my head. I'm like, shut up. Like, shut up. He's just like, no, just beat it. Just beat it, Dave. I'm like, shut up. So like when I tried to stop it, he just got stronger. So like whatever I was dealing with at the time, Mike was helping me overcome whatever I was dealing with. So he's an ancestor you can utilize. And he'll come to you in his own way. What I've noticed is, especially when so I got Tupac on my altar too, and then I found myself once I put him on my altar, just consciously just going to his music, and I don't really listen to him a lot, but I just find myself going to his music. I was like, man, this is really nice. And then as I'm listening to the lyrics of the song, I'm just picking out what he's saying to me, and I'm just like, oh, I need to do that. But like, it sounds complex, but it's not, because once you get into the groove, if your spirit leads you that way, it becomes natural. It's like you knew how to do it the whole time.
Right.
So that was very interesting. I won't go too in depth because I don't want to take up the whole time. Anyway, it's your turn. Tell us about your spiritual journey.
It's been very interesting, to say the least, just because, just like, Iris, growing up in a Christian household, like, always hated church. Never could know why. Like, couldn't never figure out why. I always hated going. It didn't feel, being a Christian didn't feel natural to me. It felt like I was being forced to do something. And anybody that personally knows me knows that anytime you try to force me to do something, I'm just going to rebel even more. So, I've, lived in Alaska for a while, and I moved to Arizona, and I would say it definitely peaked more when I moved to Arizona, just because, I'm an empath, so I feel and see things differently than others. It's more on a deeper level. Like, I can sense residual energy in buildings, and, I can see people's, like, souls. Like, I'll never forget this. Like, this was in Alaska. I was, clocking out. I used to work at Lowe's, and I was clocking out for work, and something told me to look to my right. And when I looked to my right, I saw this man staring at me. And when I looked back at him, his eyes were just black, like fully black. Like, he had no soul. He was like staring a hole through me. And it made me uncomfortable, and I couldn't, like, I was just like looking at him like what the hell's wrong with you? And then I didn't think too much of it. But like 2 weeks later, I was laying in bed. I was knocked out, and something told me to open up my eyes. So like I opened up my eyes, and then my bedroom door like slowly creaked open.
What?
And then this black figure that was like no taller than my bed hovered in my room and stood next to my bed and stared at me. It had green glowing eyes and it was laughing at me. Like all I could do was just look at it. I couldn't, like, everyone's like, it's just sleep paralysis. No, I've had sleep paralysis. This was on a completely different level.
Yeah.
It just kept laughing at me. And I was just paralyzed with fear. And then finally, like, I was able to yell help and then it disappeared, but my door was still open. That's how I knew this wasn't like sleep paralysis. Like that was a demon in my room. So like I jumped up, prayed about it, you know, I was like, oh my God, like what's going on? And then 2 weeks later, one of my friends got shot and killed at a party.
Oh, wow.
So that's when I knew like, okay, like there's a reason why I'm having all these things. Like even when Iris and I used to share a room, and when we lived with my dad in California, one time like she shook me awake and I'm like, I was mad, you know what I'm saying? Like, don't wake me up, I'm asleep. And she was like, no. She was like, no, Tashelle, I sent something bad and I woke up and turned around and there was something black hovering over you in your sleep and you were crying in your sleep. And then I was like, oh, well, thank you for waking me up. I'm sorry for getting mad at you. Thank you for waking me up. I was having a bad dream. And then, you know, even now, when I look back on that experience, that also let me know that I have a higher calling than just following Christianity. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to knock anybody that is a Christian. But for my personal viewpoint on that, like, to me, it's a slap in the face to my ancestors to worship a white man who, in my honest opinion, you know, doesn't have anything to do with the Black experience, doesn't have anything to do with my immediate family. Like, why would I worship somebody that, if he was alive today, he'd be able to benefit from white privilege? Meanwhile, my actual ancestors have, you know, have struggled. You know, my immediate ancestors, you know, because I do know their names and they know my names. Like I rather worship them and ask them for guidance versus a stranger that, you know, to me is being shoved down my throat. With that said, I've always been communicated with through my dreams. Like that's how I always ask for correspondence, is through my dreams, just because I know that's a pure place. There's no outside influence. It's just me and my spirituality there. I had a divination done last January actually, and the reason why I got the divination is because I honestly thought I had like ovarian cancer. Yeah. And you know, my spiritual advisor was like, no, you don't have ovarian cancer, but you know, you do have a hormonal imbalance. And, you know, he basically told me, like, ever since I've lived in Arizona, I've always had something not this bad. But since I've moved here, it's gotten worse, like a lot worse. And I had no idea. I started researching. I'm like, what? Like, why do I feel so on edge? And my anxiety is always so high here. Come to find out, Arizona is actually a very spiritual place. A very spiritual place. For instance, you know, I don't know if you guys are, you know, follow, you know, ghosts and, you know, the actual spirit world, but I went to the mountains, you know, and I was taking pictures. Whoa. And only one of the pictures out of all the pictures I took have orbs in them, have energy orbs that were floating around me. And I had no idea until, you know, I was literally taking pictures, and you could see the sequence of the pictures, and only one of them has orbs like literally flying like across my face. And I didn't see that till I got home and started going through the picture. I was like, oh my God, like this definitely explains why I feel so on edge, is because I need to go through an actual spiritual awakening. So I've been doing spiritual baths, and
yes,
had a very traumatic experience happen. I was sexually assaulted at work, and I followed the proper channels, and the guy didn't get fired. They're basically like, oh, we did a 2-day investigation. We asked him if he did it. He said no. So you still have to work with him. And I'm like, R. Kelly has whole tapes, and he's still denying it. Why would you ask him if he did it? Of course he's going to say no. Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
So I'm like, nah, fuck this. I'm going to my ancestors. Like, you got me fucked up. Like, I'm not going to be the only one that's going to suffer. I'm tired of this. So I reached out to my spiritual advisor again and had another divination, and I didn't know where to find the roots for my first my herbs for the first spiritual bath I was supposed to take. So I only found a couple of them. The that came in the mail were fresh, so they ended up going bad, and I did not want to do a spiritual bath with moldy herbs. So he was like, you know, basically, this is what I want you to do. You know, I want you to take what you do have that's still good, you know, put that in a pot, go to the store and get some more lemongrass and sage, I think it was. Yeah, it was sage. And boil that. So I boiled that for about 10 minutes. And, you know, I let it cool off. You know, I wrung it out. In my mind, I'm like, man, this ain't gonna work. Why am I doing this? You know? But I was like, let me trust in the ancestors. If I'm going to let them lead me, I need to trust them for them to do so. So he was like, I'm going to recommend a 7-day, you know, spiritual bath. And I'm also going to give you this condition soap. So I was like, okay, that's fine. You know, I just want relief. Because I wasn't sleeping, I wasn't eating, I was literally on autopilot. And after day 5 into my spiritual bath for that, he ended up getting fired.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I gotta trust the ancestors. Like, they're, you know, like, how I feel is correct. And he ended up getting fired. You know, I used the condition soap, and it's so weird because, you know, you look at I don't know if you guys ever seen old photos like from the 1900s, you know, 50s, 60s, and how clear our ancestors, you know, skin and stuff was. It's because they use the natural stuff that the earth has already given to us. And I noticed when I started doing the spiritual bath and using the conditioning soap, any type of blemishes I had like cleared up immediately. And I'm like, you know, this is why I need to go back to the way things are supposed to be. Like, you know, I'm not saying that change and progression isn't good, but, you know, sometimes if something's not broke, why try to fix it? So why not go back to teas and, you know, using fresh herbs for, you know, your skin, your hair, all that. And it made a difference. With that being said, after I did that, you know, I felt a little bit better, but then I still felt like a wound up. The only way I can explain it is like feeling like a wound up ball of tension. Like I literally tell people I feel like a fist, a walking balled up fist, because the way I sense things is just, it's so intense. Sometimes it's overwhelming for me. So, I was like, you know what, let me do my original 21-day spiritual bath that he advised that I do back in January, because like I need some sort of relief. So I literally ordered every single herb on that list. I was so anxious. I was telling Tiffany, like, oh my gosh, I'm about to do the spiritual cleanse. Like, I'm scared but excited, you know, and I was in a relationship, you know, at the time. And I even said to myself, you know, at the time I was like, okay, you know, knowing that one of the herbs used is an unblocking herb. One of the herbs used is an enlightening herb. So that lets me know that I have a chance of losing my boyfriend. Like I have a chance of losing stuff that I want, but that's okay. You know, I have to trust the process. And sure enough, like after 21 days of my spiritual bath, sure enough, him and I got in an argument because I told him he needed to get help with something, and he didn't. Not even an argument. Like I just told him, like, hey, you know what? You have a problem that I can't help you with. You need to get professional help with this. And he got mad and didn't talk to me for like 3 days. And I was so hurt. I'm like, it's a long distance relationship. So communication is all we have. So if it's so easy for you to just not talk to me for 3 days, that lets me know that you don't need me. Like your life is just fine without me. And Tiffany always teases me about this because I'm the type of person, like, you know, because of what I've gone through in my past, I have a zero tolerance policy. So I will block you on everything. Not even tell you I'm blocking you. I'm just going to block you. So, you know, Tiffany was like, don't block him. You know, that's for somebody that's harassing you. I mean, I'm sorry, Iris. Don't block him. That's for someone who's harassing you. You know, at least talk to him. So I talked to him and I'm like, so, you know, you're just gonna not talk to me for 3 days. And then when I called you, you ignored my phone call, but then posted a picture on Instagram. I was like, you know how mad that made me? I was like, that is the most I was like, that is psychologically and emotionally abusive. I was like, you cannot just not talk to somebody, like, especially if you care about them, you know? And he was just like, well, I was just, you know, that talk was really heavy and da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, well, you already set the tone to let me know that, you know, if we break up, it's okay. Let's fast forward so we talk about it. And, you know, things were cool, but I was still feeling some type of way just because he was so nonchalant about it. Like, he was just like, well, I wasn't trying to hurt you, but, you know, I just needed a break. And I'm like, yeah, but you could have told me that, hey, you know, that talk really got to me. I just need some time. I would have respected that. But for you to just not talk to me, like, that's not okay. So fast forward to recently, I just been feeling like we went from talking every single day, you know, no matter what he had going on, to me only hearing from him once a day. And, you know, I started noticing that when I really needed him, he wasn't there for me. Like, my mom had a stage 3 breast cancer. So, you know, when I told him, I was devastated. Like, I didn't sleep. I cried, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just went to work, you know, just because that's what I'm used to doing. I'm used to
finally
persevering through just anything that I have to go through. I'm just used to just continuing to go through it. So when I initially told him, like, hey, my mom was just diagnosed, you know, with breast cancer, he was like, oh, you know, I'm sorry to hear that. And then he would change the subject and talk about whatever he wanted to talk about, you know. And I should have known then that if someone isn't there for you when you need them, then they're not the one for you, you know. So fast forward to my sexual assault, the day it happened, I told him, and he was actually going to Disneyland with his family for vacation. And I only heard from him once the whole first 5 days because he was in Florida with his family. And I was hurt. I was like, I really need you right now, and you're not even here for me. Like, and he was like, well, I gave you advice and you wasn't trying to listen to it. I'm like, but that's the thing. I don't need advice. Like, you're trying to love me in your love language instead of mine. I just need you to be there. And had you asked me what I needed from you, I would have communicated that to you. So, you know, the past 2 weeks, I've just been like, you know what? Let me just focus on me. So we had a conversation on Saturday, and I was just like, you know what? Since you've basically shown me that you need to focus on you, I think you need to do that. I don't want to be your girlfriend anymore. I will be your friend. But as far as us romantically being together, it's not compatible because you don't listen to me, and you're not there for me when I need you the most, and that's all I need from you. And he was like, no, I can get my life together with you in it. And I'm like, clearly you can't, because it went from me talking to you every day, no matter what, to once a night. And by the time you call me at night, I'm asleep because there's a time difference. So why would I continue to be in a relationship by myself? You know, and not only that, he's the type of person, he's very private, but so he never acknowledged, like, social media wise, that he's in a relationship. My relationship status on Facebook said